Hi, everyone. Welcome to Center for Conscious Kids. I'm here live in San Diego in our Specially Produce Network studio, and I'm so excited with my guest today. Dani Henderson is the founder and CEO of Kids Soul Speak. She is a passionate advocate for our youth all over the world, and she is driven to support their voices being heard and help them to understand their value and self leadership. Welcome, Dani.
Hi there, Ashley. Thank you so much for inviting me here.
I'm so excited you're here. It's so amazing to share what we do for kids and to
Yeah.
support them and really help them grow throughout their lifespan.
hmm
And so share with me what it is that Kids Soul Speak means. What does it mean? Where did it get birthed from?
Okay, so Kids Soul Speak is a universal platform for our kids and teens to have a voice, to know that there are adults like me in the world and you in the world that hear them, that know them, that we're not giving them permission. We're allowing them the information that, hey, we love you, you matter, your voice has value. Let's go, let's go. We can
That's
get
right.
beyond the rules a little bit and just. So it's a platform for kids to really share their feelings, their thoughts on loss and magic and healing and beauty and my first book. So I write books, and the books aren't me as because I'm a therapist, family coach. I coach children, teenagers, adults, independent, because everyone has their own stuff going on.
Right, exactly.
But the children really are my biggest drive, and Kids Soul Speak is that platform. And the books that I write, this is the first book, which is Kids of Divorce. And what this is 11 short stories from children aged 8 to 19,
Wow.
telling us what happened, what their divorce journey was like. And so, for example, the first story is a little girl called Rosie. And when Rosie was 6 years old and her parents split up, her mum and her brother and her had to move back to a different country.
I see.
And unfortunately, what that little girl did in her shock and trauma of suddenly the family's fallen apart, she's on a plane going back to her country, she made herself go numb. She created a way within her own being that she wouldn't let herself feel feelings because she missed her dad so much. She was so upset for her mum and her brother.
Yeah.
And our children are doing these events within themselves. It's an internal happening.
Yeah.
And we think, oh, I know my daughter. No, 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 I know my son. No, we don't. We don't know how they're going to react or respond or think. Primarily, the children love mum and dad regardless.
Right.
And they don't want to show mummy or daddy, hey, I'm really hurting in this way. So they really take a lot inside and they keep it there. And that's not healthy. That's not good.
Right.
So, in my book, Kids of Divorce, with these 11 stories from children all around the world, different cultures, what you learn is it's the same love, the same feeling, the same compassion. We are, as humans, programmed in a very similar way to
Yeah.
love unconditionally before adults come along and ruin everything, of course. But the children grow up protecting mum and dad.
Yeah.
And some of the most important messages in the book are, if you're a parent, please, if you do one thing in your life, in your divorce situation, one thing that you can take care of in your household is don't say anything negative about your spouse, about your ex husband, about your ex wife, no matter how badly you want to, because you are inflicting yourself, your anger, your rage, your pain on your children. And that's their daddy, that's their mummy. They don't have to handle that. That's your business. So if you make an effort to stop yourself, to take a moment, hold that thought, and then go and scream into a pillow or beat up the sofa or scream in the car or do whatever it is you need to do to release your own frustration and your own pain. Because divorce is a really hard, long, torturous journey. It is. There's
It
no
is.
getting around it.
Yes.
This is for the majority.
Yeah.
There are some who have an amazing divorce and they get it right. They sit down with the children, they explain certain things, and they talk at a level their children can understand. Mummy and daddy still love each other, but they don't want to be married anymore.
Right.
We love you. We're just going to have a different type of family. We're going to live in two houses, and there's all that to manage. But there's a lot of very hurt, angry adults
Yes.
who are raising very hurt, angry children.
Yes.
And Kids Soul Speak is about opening up that conversation, that dialogue between the kids, between the teens, between the parents and the families,
Yes.
and bring a kinder, softer, more loving approach to the healing that takes place within the family unit.
Well, and giving those children a chance to discern too on their own for how the dynamics is working so that they're able to share authentically to their parents about what's happening. Maybe one parent is acting out a little stronger than the other one and having a little bit more of a difficult time transitioning through that process and acting out in unfavorable ways.
Hmm.
But I think it's important for the children to be able to come out and speak that and to be safe to speak that and to say, hey, that's not okay. Can we talk about this a different way? Can we, and giving them the opportunity to share and ask questions in a way that facilitates healing for everyone.
And it's about that healing for everyone. It's about understanding that our children learn to hate,
Yeah,
and they learn to be angry, and they learn to be racist, and they learn that
right.
from the adults and from the older kids who've been programmed. And our kids come into the world with unconditional love.
They really
That's our
do.
natural state.
That's our natural state.
And yet, with the media and with the silly reality shows that we watch, when I say silly, what I mean is the women in particular on certain reality shows that are just screaming at each other. And what we're doing is we're enforcing a non-truth to our children and our teens and our young people that this is how we treat each other. We
Right.
basically abuse each other and we drag each other down, and it's not true. And we can do something about that. We much rather see happy things on TV, for example. We much rather see something that's going to make us feel emotion and connect to love and see a win for
Right.
someone.
And
And
transcend difficulties.
absolutely. And then
Yeah.
within that, you might sit and watch a mom and daughter come together in something really positive and connect to the dad. And then in yourself, you might think, wow, I could do that. I could make that happen. And we're not seeing enough positive reinforcement where we should be. And it starts at home. It
It
doesn't
sure
start at
does.
school, it starts at home.
It sure does. And then it can be illustrated at school and supported at school when some of the children are provided an opportunity at home to speak authentically
Mhm.
and to share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The parents need to give the kids permission to be real. The parents need to be saying, listen, I know that you're going to protect my feelings because you love me and I'm your mom and you love me, but I need to know how you're feeling. Like the little girl who was 6 years old that went completely numb.
Yeah.
Her story is the first story. Her name's Rosie, and she went through this for a while. She was holding in anger and pain and sadness and rage for so long. Her hair started falling out.
Yeah.
The stress that we hold inside ourselves will create something on the outside.
Yes.
It creates dis-ease,
Yes.
disease, also longer term in adults that haven't healed their own inner child.
Right.
And that's part of the double entendre for Kids Soul Speak. It's very purposeful. I want every adult with their little boy inside or their little girl inside to be able to connect into that inner child and love them back into fullness, love them back into safety and security. And for the children, of course, to know that they are able to express themselves, they are able to speak their truth, and they need a safe environment for that. Because if you say to your child, if you're a mum and you're having a stressful time and you're upset by the dad, maybe he hasn't paid alimony, maybe he hasn't seen the children for a while, and your mum's hurting and raging, you don't feel safe as a child to be able to say, what, I really miss my dad. I need to see my dad.
Right.
I had a coaching session yesterday with a mother and daughter, and the mother's saying in front of her 10-year-old child, I don't understand why she wants to see her dad. He did this to me and this to me and this to me and this to me. And I said, well, at the end of the day, that's still her daddy. And we are hardwired and we have a blueprint we come in with to love our parents, even if they're not deserving of that love. And some of them aren't deserving of that love.
Sometimes that can be challenging.
Very challenging.
Yeah.
But the mother in that particular scenario, I mean, bless her heart, she broke down and she hadn't realized how harsh she was being on her little girl who's trying to grow up. She's 10, coming on 11. She's coming into puberty. She's very
Right.
confused. And she doesn't need to have to manage her mother's feelings, her mother's adult feelings of
Correct.
rage. It's not the children's job to do that.
That.
And we don't all realize we're doing it.
Right.
The reason why Kids of Divorce is my first book, where I interview all of these children and teenagers, is because I was a nursery nurse, children's nanny, family therapist. My children are now 17 and 18, but when they were 4 and 5, I went through my own divorce. And I thought I had it handled. I was very mindful and very conscious, but I still dropped the ball because I'm human. And I'm a drama queen and I blow off the handle like most people. And then it really allowed me to anchor into the reality of how we need to be loving our children, how we need to be speaking to them, how we need to be mindful of not attacking the other parent and not keeping grandparents away from the children who have deep bonds with their grandparents because we may not like that
Exactly.
family anymore, and that we're causing long-term harm. And those single mothers now that need babysitters, goodness me, if you've got good grandparents on your ex-husband's side that want to connect to your children, come on, let's make life easier all around. We let go of the rage and we start moving more into the love and thinking about the kids first, because the mom and dad are the kids' first male and female role model,
Absolutely.
and setting them up for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. And teaching them how to relate to themselves, others, and their life circumstances
Hmm.
inside the home and outside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very important.
It's really, really true. And how do you support this process? You have the books and you have coaching one on one
Hmm.
and with families.
Yeah.
How else do you see us supporting each other, even on a more global process?
On a global level, I do the one-to-ones, I do the family mediations, I do individual adults, male and female, whether they're together or not, children's sessions, working with teenagers who are having a hard time expressing themselves. I go into schools, I talk on, in assemblies, and my main message in assemblies is, you kids, you matter, your voice matters, you're amazing and you're beautiful, and there's something inside of you that's growing and learning, and there's a softness in you, and we want to see that. And we help children, guide them to finding their purpose. And from finding purpose, first of all, you figure out what you like. That's where
Right.
a kid starts. I had a young boy last week, 17. I've got no purpose. I've got no passion. I'm like, well, what do you like to do? I like guitar. Great. Okay. So we just stick with you like guitar rather than you love guitar, because
Right.
he's still figuring things out, and you
Right.
like to draw, right? Yeah, I like to draw. So what we're starting with him, the 17-year-old, is the fact that he has a couple of things he likes, but they're actually passions.
Right.
But he's an angry teen right now, and that's okay. He's working himself through his feelings.
Right.
So we just say, okay, so you like that? Are you good at that? Are you a bit good at that? Because kids at that age, they're so challenging. They're trying to find their vibe,
Right.
find their tribe.
Right.
So yeah, the purpose comes from figuring out the things that you like first. In terms of global, this is Kids of Divorce. The next book is The African American Kid. I mean, I grew up in a blended family,
Hmm.
so my African brothers and sisters are my normal,
Right.
and we are one race, and we are all these beautiful different colors and cultures and languages, and there's beauty in everything and everyone. And so I'm making a movie documentary right now, and it's thought leaders, YouTube influencers, beautiful kids, teens. My youngest little one is 7 in the movie. I have great thought leaders and well-knowns like Stedman Graham, who's very, very active for our youth and education. Dr. Michael Beckwith, who was in the Secret
Yes.
movie. He's a great thought leader. I spent a ton of time with his teen ministry at the Agape Spiritual Center in Los Angeles. He's
Beautiful
doing
place.
amazing work. And the kids I interviewed there that are in the next book, The African American Kid,
Yeah.
blew me away. I
Absolutely.
mean, I learned so much from them, the way they think, and kids are simple. We complicate them, but they have simple solutions to the challenges that we've inflicted and
Right.
that we have created as adults on them and their generation. So in
Absolutely.
the film, there's children and teenagers bringing their problems, but also giving you a solution. How about that? They
How
keep
about
it
that?
simple. It's so simple. And, one of the little girls in the film, her name is Mackenzie Williams. She has no kidneys in her body.
Wow.
She has end stage renal disease. And I made a video with her. I didn't know if it was going to work. I just wanted to do something for this amazing child. Her and her mother and I got together and we made this video saying, listen, she has no kidneys. We're looking for a donor or a live donor, because there's a whole legacy that's being built here with being able to be a live donor. Imagine if you donate your kidney while you're alive, because we have two, we only need one,
Hmm.
that you're giving life to a child that's dying that can have life
Right.
while you're alive.
Right.
Isn't that amazing?
It is.
And
We
it's just
see it every day in the
flipping, yeah,
hospital.
exactly,
It's
because
amazing.
look what you do.
It's amazing.
Yes, Miss Preemie, nurse of the
Preemie,
century.
pediatric, cardiovascular. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
you're someone who definitely witnesses
We
that.
see a
And
lot of organ transplantation. It's a beautiful process
yeah,
to support others in that way.
absolutely. Just on the donor register, I would like for us to have a global donor register where the only donors on that register are the ones that do not want to donate any organs.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, and I spoke to somebody who works in the tissue bank,
Yeah.
and she told me that even if someone passes away and they have a donor card that says, hey, you can use my organs, they have to get permission from the next of kin. And the
Yes.
next of kin's in pain. They've just lost a loved one.
Right.
There's only a certain amount of hours where you can actually
Yes.
harvest the organs.
Yes.
And so a lot of the next of kin are saying no.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the wish of the person that signed the donor card.
Right.
So I thought, wouldn't it be much simpler just to have, say, if you don't want this to happen to you, sign a register globally,
Right.
so that millions of lives would be saved every day, literally.
Every day.
Those
Yeah.
children at home dying
Yes.
on dialysis every day, well,
Yeah.
it'll be a whole different story for them, right?
Whole different story.
So that's in the film too. There's a lot of, suggestions like that to get people thinking.
That's very beautiful. Yes, to come out of our paradigms, to come out of our boxes and really think more openly, more globally, and
Hmm.
more in a sense of unifying
Yeah,
each other in our hearts.
in our hearts.
Yes.
Remembering what our hearts are for, because our hearts become very hard over time with the things that have happened to us, and that's understandable. But it's returning back to love. It's returning back, number one, to self love, to looking at you and saying, you did good, you've done good, you're on a journey. And a lot of what happened was out of your control. So, what do we do with that? Do we forgive what happened to us? What we forgive is that we know something happened,
Right.
but in order to forgive, we're not necessarily saying, yeah, I'll let you off the hook, mate. On you go. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, ta-ta. And we're not saying that. In order to have that feeling of forgiveness within us, all we're doing is releasing the rage and the hurt and the pain. It's
Absolutely.
like passing it back to the inflictor. We're
Absolutely.
allowing ourselves permission to become free from those things that bind us. And as adults, when we start taking those steps to have more self love and unconditional love for ourselves, of course, that's going to reflect to your children, your teenagers, your young people around you. How could it not?
It sure does. And what would that world look like when all children, no matter what age group they are able to speak authentically in their truth? What would that look like?
It'll be pretty incredible. And, when I sit with groups of children and teenagers and we talk, you can't believe the love, the spirit in them, the happiness, the joy, and it's number one. One of my mantras in life is, well, I've got two. One is keep it simple. The other one is if it's not fun, I'm not doing it. But the one with keep it simple, that's how kids think. Like they
Right.
they go straight to the easiest, not just the easiest to get out of responsibility, but the easiest and simplest, most beneficial solution to a situation. Where an adult's complicating everything and having a board meeting and structuring and organizing a new blueprint and an infrastructure, and a kid's like, yeah, we could do this.
Yeah.
How about that? Duh.
Exactly. Tomorrow
Yeah. Yeah, or right now,
or
or
today.
yeah, exactly,
Yes.
exactly. And we're in a generation now where we're seeing people older than us, you and I, starting to live now past 100. That's our norm. Well, what are we going
Right.
to do with all the pain inside of us as adults? Are we going to be angry for the next 40, 50 years, So
Exactly.
we're witnessing that. And then behind us, we're witnessing children who really are pushing more, and they're changing paradigms, and they're saying, listen, the school structure is rubbish. It's over 200 years old, and we no longer can sit in a full-time job from 7 till 3 every day. My kids are in school till those times.
Right.
Outrageous, and expect them to think when, as teenagers, they need to sleep a little bit longer. Their bodies are growing and changing, and it's kind of a, I don't know, Chinese water torture almost, where expecting them to fit into a paradigm that doesn't work. And yeah,
Right.
you are seeing a backlash, you are seeing a pushback, and there are so many people in the world who are taking care of that. They're creating charter schools and
Absolutely.
online schools, and they're giving the children more of a inner leadership ability to self-lead.
Very different venues to support their own unique innate gifts that they
Yeah,
bring to the world
yeah.
and that they aren't always expressed in the same way. And thank goodness.
Oh, thank goodness, because we are. The human race is an incredible race. We are incredible beings. We come into the world with a blueprint. We come into the world with, a natural nature. And if we're lucky and we have nurture,
That's
there's
right.
a combination that happens, but there's a drive in everyone. It's like the children that say, I didn't choose to be here. I didn't choose to be born. And I'm like, well, actually, I've got news for you, because biologically and physiologically, when the sperm was on its way up
Yeah.
into the womb of the female, there's like 400 trillion little sperms all trying to get into that one spot. And hey, you were the one that got there.
Yeah.
So you immediately start out as a winner. And if you're alongside twins, or it doesn't matter how it happened,
Right.
the fact is the sperms that, um, you know, uh, um, create the egg and the ovulation and the coming together,
That spark of life.
yeah, the spark of life, that's you. That's you at your innate, at your inner innateness at the
That's right.
beginning. So you did choose to be here, even though you didn't have a conscious brain in your body. There was a
Right.
consciousness in you that led you on that journey. So I don't tolerate that. Go, I don't want to be here. I'm like, okay, we need to move on from that story. This is for adults too. Let's just move. I didn't choose to be born, and okay, well, you did get born, regardless, and you're here. So what are you going to do with your beautiful life? This gift that you
Absolutely.
have.
A lot of them don't. We haven't had yet a society that really fosters bringing in that gift and bringing in those abilities and bringing in what it is that that little baby, that little toddler, that little preschooler or young child bring into the world. What do they favor? What do they like? What astonishes you about them? Right?
Mm.
Those are their passions, and we sometimes overlook them, or we downplay them, or we figure that that's one good area that they're at. So let's focus on the areas they aren't good at, so that we can bring them up. And of course, bringing up well-rounded people that have a lot of versatility to navigate the world around them is very helpful. But it also is very helpful to allow them space to speak about their passion, to share it, and to share their insights. And a lot of times their insights are way beyond their years.
Oh, they're fascinating.
And
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
It's amazing. I sat with my son the other day. He was going through a bit of a grumpy time and just wanted to be online and stuff. So I'm giving him his space because I'm not, domineering every thought, because that's not okay for
Right.
anyone to do that.
Right.
We sat down and we had a cup of tea because we're English. And I always get the teapot out and the teacups. And he actually quite likes it because that's part of his heritage. I mean, he was born
Right.
in San Diego, but,
Right.
we lived in England for 7 years and when we moved back here. Um, and I just sit and listen to this kid and I think, oh my gosh, where did that come from? And
Right.
it's things like that. My daughter's the same. She's training, she's studying at college. She wants to be a judge, and she's going to be. I mean, she's been spending her last 18 years judging me very harshly.
But
But
that's
she,
so beautiful that we bring
yeah,
in a whole nother level of consciousness
yes,
around judging in our justice systems
yes.
and formatting them, supporting them in such ways that really create a level of rehabilitation, which really is what remembering we're not separate,
Yeah,
right, from
absolutely.
each other and the
Yeah.
world around us.
Yeah. Yeah, then
Yeah,
we're all inclusive, all loving, but there are some people who'll think, oh, that's all the 60s nonsense, all loving and smoking weed and,
right,
jumping around. Actually, it was a really wonderful reminder that we are here to love, to be loved, to share that love, to encourage that love in others, and to remember that we are beautiful beings. Like, we matter.
we do matter.
Yeah, and and that returning to love, returning to unconditional love. If you need a best friend and you don't have a best friend, or maybe you do, the most important person you can befriend or be best friends with is you, is treating you like your best friend. How soon would we then move out of the way that we attack ourselves in the mirror every day?
Absolutely,
If we made a decision as adults and children to be your best friend and have other friends around. But do you know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
Simple little movements in the mind, in the feeling state that we hold every day, deciding to think purposefully differently, even for 1 minute a day. How would I feel if I was my best friend? What would I say to my best friend in the mirror?
Absolutely. Create those daily practices, because I was going to ask you in this idea is how can we foster an environment that really supports authentic speaking? And I mean in children, even in babies. A lot of times they're crying and we shush them, right?
Hmm.
And why are we shushing them? Because we don't want to hear the crying, because it overwhelms our brain and nervous system. I think it's meant to, right? It's the baby is calling us to action,
Hmm.
right? And so instead of shushing them, why don't we create songs, create lullabies, right? Create a level of attachment and understanding where they're coming from. A diaper change, a feeding. How about love and cuddling? How about some alone time? How about some decreased sensory time or increased sensory time? That's what they're asking for.
Hmm.
And we a lot of times don't understand how to navigate that. And so we do that and we begin to teach babies and to silence. And instead, why don't we teach them and support them on how to engage, interact, relate, and share in ways that are supportive to making sense, for example. So many children that are highly gifted or have multisensory issues, a lot of times they don't know how to navigate, even as babies, their overwhelm. And a lot of times they don't give really good cause and effect. You've changed their diaper, you fed them, they're still crying. What's happening? And so think a little bit more deeply in the idea is the lights too bright? Is the noise too loud? Is it time to be awake and play? Is it time to settle down and go to sleep? Those are different areas which they may not understand. And so from a very early age, we can actually teach them to speak
Mm-hmm.
and to come forward. And I think that's one way that we can foster. There's so many ways. Having access to your books is just a beautiful idea, right? To know that what are other kids thinking and feeling when I'm going through divorce,
Mm-hmm.
or if I'm a different color, race, creed from others around me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Hawaii, and I'll tell you, being white was not the normal.
Yeah.
They even have derogatory terms for it, and it
Yeah.
was very interesting. And so, uh, really seeing different aspects of where we feel like we belong or we don't belong,
Mm-hmm.
and bringing that sense of belonging together. Because really, at the end of the day, we all belong.
Yeah.
We can't not belong.
That's right.
We're all connected.
Talking about that, and the fact that there is rampant racism, and genocide that
Yeah,
still happens today. And it does. There's
yeah,
no point pussyfooting around that. It's a reality. And, again, we're raising generations of kids and teens, and they're witnessing the idiocies among the adults who are racist and angry and bitter, and they're passing on that lie to the youth. That's why there are people like me and you out there saying, no, it's all wrong. The adults have got it wrong.
yeah.
We're going to say, adults, take a seat,
Right,
be quiet. Here's a
right,
pacifier and a bottle.
right,
Shut your yap and let's listen to these children.
right,
But it's in terms of when I was doing a lot of the interviews with the African American youth, I could not believe that in 2018, these kids and adults have to think about, well, I can't park late at night near that wooded area. Because in case there's that ancient threat of being, something horrible happening to you because it's
right,
happened to their ancestors and their people in their generational
right,
that, last 100 years plus.
right.
And I was sitting there, I was pleading with him. I said, are you guys serious? You still have to think in those terms. They're like, yeah, Danny. And I was just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And it's funny, I spent a lot of time winning the trust of these African American youth, because who am I, some white woman walking into their beautiful, safe teen ministry, and I want to
right,
write a book. What am I going to write? You know what I mean?
right. Exactly.
And I remember this one beautiful girl, she's in the film, her name's Journey. And I said to all these kids, they're like age 19 down to about, how old are these? The teen ministry was like, 12 to 19. And I said, you might be thinking, what is some white woman coming into my safe environment? And this girl said, yeah, I was actually thinking just that. I said, yeah, I could tell you were. Let me tell you, I grew up in a blended family. This is my normal.
Right,
I love everybody, and I don't have these judgments that a lot of people do have, but most people don't. I mean, we'd cross the road to help somebody if they needed a hand, they fell down, no matter what color they are.
right,
We're innately programmed that way. Of course, we'd help somebody no matter what they look like.
right,
But these children were sharing their stories, and I just was so upset that they have to still manage the horrors from the past in
right.
this progressive 2018. And eliminating racism is something that can happen and is something that is taking effect in this
It
generation
sure
of our youth.
is.
It's intolerable.
Yeah,
It's intolerable. And like the religion, oh, you need to be in my religion, otherwise you're not going to get saved. Or, oh, this will happen, that'll happen. There's so much threat around religion,
right.
in all of them. To some regard, there's a thinking that, no, this is the right way, or bless them, no, but you need to come over here. And, ultimately, we're all here to love and to be loved. And, that's why I wrote, and in the process of writing Kids of Religion, where I have Muslim children saying to Christian children, here is what I would love you to know about my religion. And then the Christians saying to the Muslims the same. And every domination that I could possibly interview, all saying the same. And what you read and get is it's all about love. So the children take the best and most loving, kind parts of the religion that they've been given, because most of us pass down a religion.
Yes.
And, these children are just so aware that it's unconditional love, it's loving everyone no matter what your religion is, no matter where you're from. And so, again, I'm ignoring the adults on purpose and having them take a seat in the corner so they can think about their manners, they can remember what their heart is for and how to engage their heart in their speaking, in their thinking, in the way they treat their fellow human, regardless of where they're from.
Exactly. And supporting that theology and that
Mm-hmm.
liturgical changes
Mm-hmm.
inside these institutions to support really coming back to the heart, really coming back to sharing, giving, being supportive, being integrous, being authentic, being responsible.
Yeah, and
All
come.
of those
Yeah.
all of those qualities and values that we enjoy with each other when we relate to each other.
Mm-hmm. And it's all coming back to love. And the children, of the religious groups, they were so excited to share. Like this little Muslim girl, for example, she couldn't wait to tell, her Jewish friends, her Catholic friends, her Christian friends, her agnostic friends, this is what I want you to know, what it is to be a Muslim to me. And it's so beautiful. And, every single religion, I believe, I mean, I spent a few years really studying every religion on the planet. I went through them all. I wanted to understand, what is this? What is it? And then knowing that at the core, it's love. It's love. It's love. And, having these children share with each other and giving them a voice and a platform, not giving them their voice, but allowing a platform, which is what Kids Soul Speak is, to say, hey, come over here. Let's get you in a book. Let's get you to share your story to other kids that you can reach through the written word. And the written
Right.
word, people say, oh no, books are going out of fashion. No, they're not.
No.
That is society trying to dumb you down to get you away from reading books, because a lot of books still from the past have so many truths in them.
Yes.
So much knowledge that we need to just soak up, get off your gadgets and get in a bookstore and read some books.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much today for sharing all that you have to offer the world and to really bring forward the opportunity for kids to speak openly and speak their truth, because it's so valuable and it's so much in love.
So much in love. It's all about the kids and the teens and how we treat them, speak to them, how we treat ourselves in front of them, the
Yeah.
way that we model, knowing that as females, mothers, those of us that are mothers and females in general, we're showing our girls what it is to be a woman, a female. And with a man, you're showing the boys and the young men what it is to be a man. So be that. Be that good, unconditionally loving, supportive, and work on your own inner child.
Right. We support you all with that. Thank you for joining us today, Dani.
Oh, you're so
It's such a
welcome.
lovely environment and such a lovely platform to speak from.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me and letting me just go into different
You
subjects. And there's
did
so much to talk
beautifully.
about.
Thank you. There is so much to talk about, and you can find her on
Yeah,
kidssoulspeak.com.
that's right. So on Facebook, it's Dani, Dani, Kids Soul Speak. And then it's also Kids Soul Speak. It's Kids of Divorce. On Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat, it's Kids Soul Speak. And my full name is Danielle Henderson, and I'm NLP practitioner and clinical hypnotherapist. So any of those labels will pull
Yes.
up my information, and you can reach out to me. You can maybe want your child in one of my books. Maybe you're a child or a teen watching this and you want to gift your story and be involved in this Kids Soul Speak movement. I welcome you all. Wherever you are in the world, whoever you are, you're welcome.
We sure do. We all welcome you to come forward and speak your truth and share your gifts to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.